Well, we interviewed some guys that we haven't put on there.
Oh, okay.
And Dell, he got their resumes.
Howdy.
And they seem to
Fast, fast, fast.
go ahead and get the
Just keep wondering why it is that the hurrier I go, the behinder I get.
for all the resumes.
Good evening. How are you?
Well,
Yeah, we are. Having fun already? Say they were. Already or still?
but anyhow,
Someone would tell us an untruth.
I know. Well, I've been growing. You never thought I didn't think that.
Never thought that.
That's good. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, cool. I knew that was a concern with you.
Well-
And so when I saw this come up tonight, I thought I would ask you about it.
I think we could ready to come on board because of the other stuff he had to do.
Yeah. Put on hold for a year. Yeah. This, I guess, is for to improve our calling capacity. When I called in from the great state of Texas, it sounded like you guys were all underwater. So it was raining over there.
You don't know what we were.
Yeah,
You weren't here.
Yeah.
Linda, you take the courier? No. I'll see if I can find it then. There was an article on Parkinson's. Oh, okay. It was more related to what our local area had to take care of.
Afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're hoping for a video.
Yeah, we're hoping for
Kurt Gibson just got it done.
Pat, do you know there's an advanced spot?
Kurt Gibson just now, he started.
You can use mine. All it says is take the exhibits.
Yeah, they're going to take exhibits out, make them electronic attachments.
The manager for the Diamondbacks, he was just diagnosed with it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Need some jar opening.
Evenly distributed.
She was disgusted. She said,
And then there's that.
And then there's
For tomorrow, buddy.
Sounds good. Okay, sounds good. I'll try and swing in and visit. Okay, see you there.
You gotta watch that. When he gets that wing in the car, you know you're
He's
in trouble.
usually means he's going to roast me.
Yeah.
That's what he
Or me.
does.
I see the picture.
Oh, you're kidding. You're kidding. You know that's going to be time to be
Yeah. The information is the same, you're just gonna pull it out and use the exhibits. So they say.
guys ready?
Light fire.
All right. Let's go ahead and fire it up. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please rise and remove your hats for the invocation. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather tonight to conduct the town's business. We would ask that you would give us wisdom, that you would open the eyes of our understanding, and Father, help us to properly conduct this business. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. May we have the roll call?
Yes, you may, if I can get my mic to cooperate. Good evening. We'll start with Councilmember McKee. Here. Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Wojcik.
Here.
Councilmember Hatch. Here. Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Croft.
Here.
And Mayor Marley.
Here. Introductions, presentations, and proclamations. We don't have any. Call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council concerning a subject that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. Total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Do we have anyone for call to the public? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and I'm Craig Brown from District 4, the Yavapai County, and the Board of Supervisors. I just wanted to remind everybody that this Friday, May 1st, is going to be the beginning of the Route 66 celebration, which is known as Fun Run up in Seligman. So if you have any antique cars or any kind of vehicles and you want to come up and join the Fun Run, we're all inviting you up to Seligman to join us, and it should be a lot of fun. Last year we had almost 700 antique cars up there, so a lot of cars to look at, and maybe some we haven't seen as much over at McDonald's. So
Cool.
please
you.
come.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
Anyone else for call to the public? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Lee Paul. I live in the town of Chino Valley and in Appaloosa 2. This concerns the mayor. I just want you to know that I do take exception, Mayor, to your wanting to bring in industry and factories and all that stuff. I really don't think we need them. We need the income, but we got a lot of income now from, the marijuana outlets, methamphetamine manufacturing is going on, as we know. We just have to tax it. And then if we could get a few more houses, that take care of the addicts, that would probably help too. So I know we need income, but I think we're doing pretty fine. Just start taxing them tumbleweeds. The I have one other item I'd like to mention. I'd like to congratulate Vice Mayor Croft on the conduct of the meeting last time. I thought it was an excellent job. I just wanted you to know that I appreciate that. And Darrell, I think you'd make a good mayor someday.
You're out of your mind.
Thank you. Any others for call to the public? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Lieutenant Sean with Chino PD. I'm also a town resident. I'm up here just to make an announcement. Next Thursday, May 7th, from 7:30 to 4:30, the police department's teamed up with the court to do a warrant surrender day. For anyone out there that has a warrant out of the Chino Valley Municipal Court, they can show up, see the judge that day, take care of their warrant issue, and we can get rid of some of the backlogs in the court system and help people do that in the process. So next Thursday, May 7th, 7:30 to 4:30 at the Chino Valley Court here in Chino Valley.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for call to the public? Okay, call to the public is now closed. Response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during call to the public at a previous meeting. We had several folks that spoke at call to the public. There was an announcement of a protest by the Tri-City veterans. The protest was held, and there was a nice article in the Courier about it. No problems, no incidents, so that was good. Suggestion to timestamp the agenda amendments. We have a timestamp listed on the originals, but not on posted copies. And so if anyone needs to see the timestamp, they can speak to our town clerk to see the original itself. The next one is a request for letter of support for Yavapai Regional Transit. The council signatures were not needed. It was the letter only needed the mayor's signature, so I went ahead and signed it. That letter's been sent. The next item is a suggestion for council to prioritize items and listen to each other. We're attempting to do both of those. And the last one was a complaint regarding an incident with area business owner and town employees. And so I have a response from our staff on that. It says, pursuant to council's request for a report in response to a recent call to the public statement from Melvin Morris, this statement summarizes the incident that occurred on April 1, 2015 between Melvin Morris, owner of Mel's Outdoor Services, and an employee from the town of Chino Valley regarding the application of herbicides on private property adjacent to the Chino Valley Community Center Park. Staff has investigated the incident and has determined that on April 1st, 2015, Parks Department employees were working at the Chino Valley Community Center Park and did interact with a resident that lives nearby. The interaction was limited to conveying the hazards of walking through freshly applied herbicides and advising of the precautions that should be taken to avoid contamination. The homeowner was apparently walking through an area still wet from herbicidal application, and staff was concerned that he might contaminate his residence by tracking the herbicide inside. While it is not the duty of the town of Chino Valley employees to monitor the day-to-day activities of our local business owners or residents, in this incident, it was perceived by the employee that a citizen of the community might be in harm's way, and our employee felt compelled to respond. Further, our employee's certification for spray application requires him to take proactive measures and report unsafe conditions if he encounters them. The employee has been counseled as to the process of appropriate etiquette and communication with private citizens as well as businesses and contractors operating in our community. As a professional courtesy, the employee should have spoken with the contractor first if he sensed an unsafe risk. Absent the ability to speak with the contractor, if an employee senses an imminent danger or risk to a citizen, he should be responsive to the situation. We would like to express our apologies for any unpleasant experience Mr. Morris may have had during an interaction with one of our employees. It was not the employee's intent to discredit Mr. Morris or his business. The town staff's focus is to try and ensure the safety of all the citizens of the town of Chino Valley. Mr. Morris's investment in our community is appreciated and valued. Continued communication and partnerships between businesses, residents, and government are essential in ensuring Chino Valley's ongoing success and safety. That ends our response to the public. Our next item is current event summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events or ask a staff member to provide the same. Presentation on information requested by the mayor and council will be made and questions answered. No action will be taken. And we were informed by our town clerk's office, according to the latest interpretations of open meeting law, that we're not to have any discussion during current event summaries and reports. So I wanted to notify our council of that. First item is status reports by mayor and council regarding current events. Do we have any reports on this side? Yes, ma'am.
Last week we had the meeting, NACOG Regional Council, and Terry Drew announced the status of the $2 million Old Home Manor grant. She made the statement that she has never had one go this far with EDA that did not go all the way through.
Excellent, thank you. Any other reports on this side? No? Yes, sir.
We're starting Citizen Academy 2015, the Wednesday, in May, the 13th. So if you want to register for Citizen Academy, it's an 8-week, hour-and-a-half a week. Look at the town, all the departments, the educational facilities, police, fire. You can register with the Chamber of Commerce, or I can take your registration and get you registered. So it's an hour and a half. Generally, most of it will take place here in the chamber, except we'll go remote with probably the police and the fire.
Okay, thank you. Any others on this side? Nope. Okay. Mayor's report is the mayor's report on wastewater treatment, part 2. In the last mayor's report, I began a 3-part series on the circumstances surrounding the purchase of the town's WWTP wastewater treatment plant. As shown in previous articles, Chino Valley's WWTP contract was designed to be paid by means of connection fees rather than by securing a Water Infrastructure Finance Authority loan, which is referred to as a WIFA loan, like most other municipalities do. Other towns secure their loans through revenue bonds or general obligation bonds, but apparently Chino Valley wanted to try a pay-as-you-go approach. Had the economy stayed strong, the plant would be well on its way to being paid off, but the terms of the contract, the size of the community, and the downturn in the economy combined to turn the plant into a cash loss of $350,000 per year and a net loss of over $1 million per year. Knowing that the town's sewer enterprise fund could never become self-supporting in its current configuration, council and staff began exploring options to purchase the plant outright through refinancing. After a great deal of time and effort, we negotiated a cash buyout price of roughly $3.3 million, which was contingent upon the full amount being paid by January 1st, 2015. According to the buyout agreement, if the general obligation bond failed, the purchase would be accomplished by means of a revenue bond. If the council did not pass a revenue bond, the buyout would be over a 10-year term at 9% interest. As a council, excuse me, we felt that a savings to the town of over $2 million was well worth the stress of having to work under such a short timeline. When the GO bond failed, the town council voted on 12/16/2014 to authorize a revenue bond which secured a WIFA loan at 2% interest to pay off the plant. Somewhat unexpectedly, the town received also almost $500,000 in forgivable principal from WIFA due to the depressed economic condition of the area. Considering that our original debt was roughly $5.3 million, outstanding balance and unpaid commercial connection fees, and our final obligation to WIFA is under $3 million, I would say that our staff did a tremendous job in helping council put this together. Now, we still have a lot of work ahead of us, but if all goes well, the wastewater system should be in the black by fiscal year 16-17, which is a whole lot better than where we were a year ago. Chris Marley, Mayor of Chino Valley. The next item is status report by Town Manager Robert Smith regarding town accomplishments and current or upcoming projects. Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. If you're out and about and you have the opportunity, please cruise by Center Street on the east side of 89. The town crews have installed a major flood control improvement there, and they've roughed in the road. Soon we'll be laying chip seal, and folks on that side of town will have another way in and out. We're really excited that our crews are able to pull this off all by themselves. Saved us a lot of money.
Thank you. Next is a report regarding 5 grant applications for Sagan University for 5 pass-through grants. Ms. Gretman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As reported on March 24th, when Sagan was first here and mentioned that they were using the town as their pass-through agent due to Prop 202, I just wanted to update you that we have now processed 5 additional grants for Sagan University. Still haven't heard anything on their initial 3 grants that they had sent in, but we did process 5 grants totaling $35,000. So, anybody have any questions on that?
No, we're not supposed to discuss anything, so thank you.
Okay.
Our next item is a presentation regarding court services.
Okay. Thank you. Once again, on February 24th, the Town Council directed town staff to research the feasibility of outsourcing some or all of our court services. When Chino Valley Incorporated, we were required to maintain a municipal court. That meant we either had to have one physically here in town, or we could contract with the Justice Court or with another municipal court in our county. Using those as a parameters, pretty much the only ones that we could contact that would be reasonable would be the Prescott Combined Court or the Prescott Valley Municipal Court. Neither one is interested at this point in joining forces with Chino Valley. They don't have the resources right now to take us on. I can't say that they wouldn't do that in the future. It would take considerable planning and a lot more time, I think, in order to do that. But at this point, they're not interested in, they don't have the resources to do it. I don't think Prescott Combined Court, as long as they stay in the courthouse, will ever have capacity.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
All right. Moving forward to consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Does anybody wish to remove any consent agenda item?
Remove 6A.
Remove 6A, and that's our only consent agenda item. Okay. Moving onwards to action items. First item is former consent agenda item 6A, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 15-796 regarding council procedures for addressing code of ethics violations, ratifying council's approval of the procedures at its April 14th, 2015 meeting, and adopting the procedures as new town code section 35.05. Go ahead, Ms. Hatch.
This type of ordinance is what has been referred to in the history of the struggles of this country as tyranny of the majority. The proposed ordinance is highly subjective and political and is not a fair process. This ordinance is not an ethics procedure. It's simply been given the name ethics to capture the interest of the public and attempts to shame those who are doing the people's work and who do not agree with the majority. A process which employs, for example, an impartial third party to make a decision prevents a political witch hunt. This ordinance does not do that. I won't be voting on this item tonight because I don't feel comfortable doing so given the pending allegations against me. Thanks to all those of you who have been supporting me.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? Anyone else on this side? All right. If there's no further discussion, the chair would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 15796, amending Town Code Title 3, Administrative Chapter 35, Code of Ethics, Section 3504, Conduct in Public Office, and adding new Section 3505, Code of Ethics Complaints, Filing, and Procedure.
Okay.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Lewis, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, you may. Councilmember McKee.
No.
Councilmember Turner.
Yay.
Councilmember Wojcik.
No.
Councilmember Hatch wishes to abstain.
No, I'm not
No.
abstaining because I don't have a fiduciary interest. It's more a pecuniary interest. I'm simply not voting.
Okay. Councilmember Best.
Yay.
Vice Mayor Croft?
Yes.
Mayor Marley?
Yay.
Okay.
Motion carries. Item A, consideration and possible action to adopt ordinance number 15-794, rezoning approximately 40 acres of real property located at 855 Auction Drive, identified as assessor's parcel number 306-01-009 Delta, and from AR4 agricultural residential 4-acre minimum to CH commercial heavy zoning district, and terminating the conditional use permit issued pursuant to ordinance number 05-628, permitting a livestock auction on the property in the AR4 zoning district. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, you have an application for a zone change from Smyer Livestock LLC from agricultural residential 4-acre minimum to the commercial heavy for their livestock auction yard out on Auction Drive. This facility has been operating as a livestock auction since August of 2006 under a conditional use permit issued upon the approval of Ordinance 505-628 on December 8th of 2005. That permit expires in December of 2016. Mr. Smyer has come forward to talk about a different way to handle this prior to the expiration of his conditional use permit. The purpose of a conditional use permit generally in zoning is to regulate uses on a given parcel of land that is not generally specifically permitted or works in a given zoning district. The conditional use permit will places of restrictions or conditions on the use above and beyond those normally required to mitigate impacts on surrounding properties. While it does allow for some flexibility in the planning process, in this case it's been used to, in a sense, circumvent standard zoning procedures. The heavy truck traffic generated by commodity-scale livestock auctions like Mr. Smyer's should have triggered a rezoning to begin with and not have been issued under a conditional use permit. The issuance of the conditional use permit issued even though it's a 40-acre site, which is a large parcel of land, it created what some people would call a spot zoning. Mm-hmm. And the uses of this property do not fit in with the residential zoning that it's in. So to rectify that situation, we need to stop using conditional use permits in that sense and start using them the way that they're intended to be used. In this case, the existing zoning, like I said, is AR4, and the purpose of that is to promote and preserve low-density residential uses, not heavy livestock auctions like what we have here. This site is ideal for this use, however, despite the surrounding zoning, because it's remote enough from surrounding users. There are only 3 adjoining property owners. As a part of the public hearing process, they were all notified, and all of them support this rezoning. This is the location, the distance to State Route 89, and some surrounding uses. So before we hit any sort of residential uses, we already have a very large gravel pit and mining batch plant. And then just past that, there's a slaughterhouse. These are all heavy commercial uses. So this is ideally situated for this use. Given the scale and intensity of the use at this auction house, rezoning the property to commercial heavy makes sense, as this really is more of a commodity scale agricultural use rather than a typical small livestock auction you may see that every year you have the 4-H sale and the FFA sale, and then the rest of the year it doesn't see much use. Like I mentioned before, we had a public hearing on April 7th, 2015. There were no comments by the public, and like I said, we did receive 3 letters of support from the surrounding property owners. Because the effect of this zoning will match this rezoning will actually match the zoning to the actual use, staff supports this action. The future land use designation is for a future growth area, which includes industrial, agribusinesses, and contained planned communities. So this fits two of those very easily. So it's in compliance with the general plan. It will, the zoning will better suit the use, and staff would recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on this side? Any questions on this side? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt ordinance 15794, rezoning approximately 40 acres of APN 30601-009D from AR4 to CH zoning district and terminating the conditional use permit issued pursuant to ordinance number 05628.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B, consideration and possible action to adopt ordinance number 15-795, amending the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 1, Administration and Procedures, by amending Section 1.1 Short Title, Section 1.4 Planning and Zoning Commission, and Section 1.5 Board of Adjustment. And this will be located on both page 39 of your packet and page 5 of your addendum. So, yes, ma'am.
Before you, you have some, the amendments to the sections of the UDO that have to do with appointments and basic management of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Adjustments. As you're all aware, we've been working through the UDO to try to resolve some of the problems that we have with it. And in going through it, some of the things that we do with Planning and Zoning and Board of Adjustment need to be updated. Section 1 of the UDO establishes the purpose of the UDO and talks about those administration activities that are done by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Adjustment. And the proposed revisions will better clarify those responsibilities and obligations of those members. We can run through here. Where'd my? Oh, no, that's right at the end of this. There we go. Oh, come on. There we go. So this highlights the major changes to both the planning and zoning portion and the Board of Adjustment portion. Both of them memorialize compliance with Chapter 35, the ethics rules of the town code, clarifies conditions under which commissioners or board members must recuse themselves, modifies the number of absences by a commissioner or a board member before removal can be considered, and establishes an alternate member, which is a new concept, but I think it's very wise in this situation. And then for Board of Adjustment only, memorializes the prohibition on ex parte communications, because the Board of Adjustment does act in a quasi-judicial manner. Just to run through the corrections or the recommended amendments quickly, subsection 1.1, we only included that because the UDO just reads the town of, doesn't say Chino Valley, so we put Chino Valley in there. Subsection 1, establishment of the Planning and Zoning Commission. This section establishes the commission and sets the numbers. And this is where we talk about the alternate member, so that if there is an absence or we need to fill a position, whoever is going to step into that position will know what's going on in the meetings, will be familiar with the cases, will be familiar with the general plan, and be ready to step in quickly. In order to replace a chairperson right now, we just elect somebody. This change will automatically move the vice chair into that position, and then we elect a new vice chair. The quorum and voting portion talks about changing the language regarding a member who has and adds language who appears to have a conflict of interest, better defines what that is. And like I said, the changes for Board of Adjustment are almost identical, with the exception of the addition of the language regarding an ex parte communication. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have several definitions weren't provided in our packet. In both the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Adjustment, there's a provision for reimbursement of actual expenses. What exactly are actual expenses as defined in this?
I'm sorry, could you, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's my problem with my voice. Page 3, well, it's 45 of 73 for Planning and Zoning, and for Board of Adjustment, it's page 47 of 73. It says, however, all members, the old
yes.
section 2.
Yep.
What exactly are actual expenses?
Incurred with connection with their duties. So if they had to go do a site visit or something like that and incurred transportation costs, that's an example of what would be covered. And the town did not, for some reason, provide transportation.
Is that defined in the definition somewhere?
In the definition of actual expenses?
Is it defined in the code?
No, actual expenses is not defined in the UDO.
I think the UDO needs to define what actual expenses are. And my next, yeah, go on.
You bet.
My next question is on page 46 of 73, under quorum voting. 4 members shall constitute a quorum. And I know you've provided for filling in for 1 member, but should there be more than several members, the definition of a quorum may change. Are you saying that it can only go forward if there are 4 people there, or?
Correct.
That for that purpose,
For
correct?
for the Planning and Zoning Commission, a quorum is 4 members, 4 commissioners. For the Board of Adjustments, it is 3 because it's only a 5-member board.
Okay, and that's just for the purpose of conducting the meeting, is that
Correct.
correct? Because for other purposes, it might be a different number in terms of emailing each other and things like that.
Well,
Depending on the number of people, if you have an alternate, that number may change.
Yes, that it could change.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that that's stated for purposes of the meeting.
Mayor,
Excuse me, ma'am, Ms. Hatch.
can I address
yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Hatch's question?
Sure.
The quorum here is a quorum to hold a meeting. The alternate member does not count as a member of the commission. So as far as the open meeting law, it's the members of the commission, unless there's an item where a commission member has declared a conflict.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next question, ma'am.
Yeah. This section C, each member present shall not abstain from voting on an item unless he or she has a declared conflict of interest. You cannot, we're making a new rule that you cannot just choose not to vote.
Unless you have a conflict of interest.
Okay, the question with that is sometimes those things, that's actual conflict of interest and not an appearance of conflict of interest. Sometimes you don't know, and it may be an appearance and may not be an actual conflict of interest. A declared conflict of interest, you may not know. It may be an appearance of conflict of interest. Should that not be appearance of conflict of interest?
Ms. Smiley?
Mayor, Councilmember Hatch, yeah, in the Ethics Code in Chapter 35, which is applicable to the Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustment, the conflict of interest is stronger than in state law. It is an actual conflict or appearance of a conflict. So this would cover the appearance as well. So what this reflects is the Roberts Rules duty to vote. If you're a member of a board, you have a duty to vote. So this says you have a duty to vote unless you have a conflict of interest, which in this case, because of Chapter 35, would be an actual conflict or an appearance of conflict.
Yeah, my question with appearance of conflict is that appearance of conflict is largely defined by the person more than anything, and so it would be difficult, so you're requiring them to state if they think that they might have an appearance of conflict. And if they don't feel that way, then they are not required to abstain, and it's largely up to them with an appearance of conflict.
That's true.
Okay. Just want to verify that.
Any further questions?
I have one more.
You bet.
On page 7, again, I don't have the definitions here. Who's relative? Usually there's a degree of relative. On page 49 of 73, item B. And a distant cousin or someone like that who is a relative, is that once removed, twice removed? Is there a definition in our ordinance that defines that?
This refers, it goes on to refer to Title 38, Chapter 3, Article 8 of ARS, so it would be in compliance with those.
Which is basically a husband and wife.
No.
Child.
No. Husband, wife, child,
Right. One
mother,
degree.
father, stepchild, step-parent.
One degree.
Yeah, I believe it's 1 degree.
One
Sister,
degree,
brother,
yeah.
brother-in-law, sister-in-law. It's, yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if I might mention one other thing. The first question of Councilwoman Hatch about the actual expenses, that's not a change from the current language. So that was in there before.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was clarified as long as we were, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
As long as we were bringing it up, it might be a good time to clarify what that means. I'm not, it's just, I know that that's been there, it's just a question.
Okay, thank you. Another item for a future council meeting. Do we have any other questions regarding this? All right. Chair would entertain a motion then?
Motion to adopt ordinance.
Oh,
I
no,
have a
we have a
question.
question. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Did you check with, or compare what we're doing with this with the Arizona Agency Handbook?
The Arizona Agency Handbook?
Yes, that's the handbook that's put out by the Attorney General's office.
No, this is based on conversations and experience that I've had doing this and conversations with the town attorney and other town attorneys.
Okay, so you didn't compare to make sure it was within. Okay, aren't the commissioners, as per state of Arizona, considered public officers?
I'm sorry?
Are not the commissioners, as per the state of Arizona, considered public officers?
They're appointed.
They are
Public officers.
appointed for a 3-year term, correct?
Right.
Which is an appointed public officer.
Right.
Okay, so they serve a 3-year term. They don't serve at the wishes of the council.
No, that's incorrect. They serve at the will of council.
Excuse me for a moment. I believe Ms. Smiley has something she wanted to say.
I would not say anything different than what Ms. Mayday has said.
Okay.
This is most cities, in fact, the only city I've ever seen where there was not in the code that the commissioners serve at the pleasure of the council is Chino Valley's. So this is very, very, very common for commissioners, even though they're appointed for a three-year term, they do serve at the pleasure of the council.
Okay.
And they do not have a property right in their position.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting that Chino Valley would be different. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I do. ARS 38-431.03 on executive session. State law mandates executive sessions for removal of a public official.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, I believe we're
That is
wandering
not
away
the
from
case. State law allows an executive session. State law does not require the council to hold an executive session. It only allows the council to make certain deliberations, one of which is personnel matters, if they choose to do so in executive session. It is not required.
Okay, because this says
That's off the agenda.
Okay, we're wandering away from the.
That is off the
item.
agenda.
Any other questions, Ms. McKee?
let me see. I believe you're removing some language from the state law, and don't we have to follow the state law?
You'd have to tell me where that is.
38-501, application of article and number B, notwithstanding the provisions of any other law or the provisions of any charter or ordinance of any incorporated city or town to the contrary, the provisions of this article shall be exclusively applicable to all officers and employees of every incorporated city or town or political subdivision or the state and any of its departments, commissions, agencies, bodies, or boards, and shall supersede the provisions of any other such law, charter, provision, or ordinance.
Are you asking me for a legal interpretation? No. I'm not an attorney. I can't do that. Phyllis can do that, but I'm not an attorney. I cannot give you a legal interpretation.
Ms. Smiley?
Ms. Smiley, you said earlier most other towns in the state of Arizona have the removal at will. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. I think that without researching what Councilmember McKee is looking at, I can't really give an opinion right now. I just wonder, though, if the definition of political officer or public officer in the section that she's referring to might be a little bit more restrictive and may not include boards and commissions. I'm not sure. That's just what I'm guessing at this point. So don't take me for that as a definite legal opinion. I'd be happy to look further into it, and I don't think that there is anything in this ordinance that is in violation of state law or that would be superseded. If I had, we wouldn't have done it this way. This is the way it's done in other cities and towns, and it's not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McKee, if you would, please give Ms. Smiley the ordinance that you were quoting. Give her the ordinance number if you would, and that way she can do whatever research is necessary. Did you have any other questions?
No, I would like to make a motion that we table this or postpone it until we get some clarification on this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this. Ms. Lewis, may we have a roll call vote?
Ready? Councilmember McKee?
Yes.
Councilmember Turner?
No.
Councilmember Wojcik?
Yes.
Councilmember Hatch?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
No.
Vice Mayor Croft?
No.
Mayor Marley?
No. Motion fails.
Failed, 3-4.
The chair would now entertain a motion regarding.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 15795, amending the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 1, Section 1.1, 1.4, and 1.5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carries.
Can we see who voted what? I only heard one
Yes.
opposed.
Yes, ma'am, we can do a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilmember McKee?
No.
Councilmember Turner?
We're doing a roll call.
No. And
On the last
okay.
motion.
To not, okay, no.
To approve.
To approve the ordinance.
To approve the
To
ordinance.
approve the
Yes.
ordinance.
Okay. Councilmember Wojcik?
Yes.
To approve the ordinance?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Hatch? No. And Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Croft?
Yes.
Mayor Marley?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Motion passes. Item C, consideration and possible action to direct staff to amend the grant application submitted to the Arizona Game and Fish Department, AZGF, for improvements at the shooting range. Ms. Mayday.
Yes. About a year ago, the staff had received notice of an award from the Arizona Game and Fish regarding their shooting range grants. Ordinarily, they'll fund projects in their entirety. This time, they chose to spread a little bit of money over a number of communities, and the result of that has been none of us can build anything. So I sat down with the engineering department, and we calculated exactly what we could build with $16,000 plus our match. And we can, if we were to go forward with the project that we submitted, we could build 3 parking stalls, or we can, the alternative project, the only one that we can come up with is to continue the excavation for the long range. So I discussed that option with the contact at Game and Fish, and they are fine with that. We just need the okay from town council.
Okay, and that's to extend the 200-meter range, correct? Okay. Do we have any questions or discussion from council? Yes, sir.
One question. When we receive these grant monies, how long do we have to use them?
This, I think we have 18 months.
Okay.
That's generally the rule.
All right. Any questions from this side? No? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion.
Motion to authorize the Development Service Director to reach an agreement with ASGAF regarding an alternate use of grant funds to extend a 200-meter range at the gun.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, consideration and possible action to approve amendment number 3 to memorandum of understanding between the town of Chino Valley and Chino Valley Police Officers Association effective July 1st, 2015. Ms. Gritman.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Officer Jeff Pizzi is here. He's the president of the Chino Valley Police Officers Association. So should you have any questions as we go through these elements, you can, if I can't answer them, he can. So traditionally, we meet with the Police Officers Association and discuss terms of their employment, and then we bring this to the council. You have the right to go through any of the agreements and the outcomes that we have suggested and make any changes. These would be effective as of July 1st. So as I outlined in my agenda item, there were 9 things that they had requested this year. I'm just going to briefly go through them. If you have any comments or suggestions, please bring them up. The first thing they asked for was no negative effect on compensation regarding no adverse employment actions such as layoffs or furloughs. At this time, of course, the budget isn't completed. However, we didn't anticipate any, we couldn't assure them anything until the budget is completed, but we don't anticipate any furloughs or layoffs in next budget year. The second item was with the insurance costs. We've been fortunate the last couple of years that our insurance rates have not increased much. This year, our insurance rates did go up an average of 5%. But one of the holistic approaches that we took to the MOU was to try and whatever we did for the police officers, we wanted to do for all employees. So we increased the coverage for dependent care that we pay for employees from 25% to 30%. So that should cover any increases in insurance costs. Request for the police department uniform allowance to be increased by $200. Previously, they were getting $1,300 a year. It has now been raised. They asked for an additional $200, so it's now been raised to $1,500 a year. Shift differential pay. The Police Officers Association did ask for a 5% differential pay for the graveyard shift. We did not feel that we could accommodate that in this year's employment. It approximately came out to about $20,000. And again, taking a holistic approach, we do have employees who do work some unusual shifts. We don't pay a shift differential, so we didn't feel like we could really do that for the police department. Education assistance program. We do have a personnel policy that does pay up to $600 every 6 months for tuition, books, fees, et cetera, for continued education. However, we have not honored that since we did layoffs and furloughs back in 2009. So we still didn't feel like we could fund that for all employees. We do certifications, we do conferences, but we couldn't do traditional Yavapai College or any of those other types of things for classes. So we did deny that one. 80-hour, 2-week pay period exemptions. As you know, a couple years ago, the police officers did come for an 80-hour work week, 80-hour pay period. We have 2 people assigned to special units that get them and pant, and they get paid by their agencies weekly, or their pay periods are weekly. So it became an issue with our payroll department, so we'd like to go to put them back on a 40-hour work week. The way their MOU is defined on clarification on hours worked for K-9 and motor officers, the way it's defined in their MOU is a little different than a lot of other agencies. Right now it says that they're going to get 1 hour of 1 hour paid time per scheduled workday for K-9 detail. A lot of other agencies will just say they'll pay you a stipend if you have a K-9. So the way we've defined it, they asked for clarification so that when they went into an overtime situation, is that considered hours worked? I think the attorney has cleared that up for us, and it will be considered hours worked. And so they'll get 10 or 8 hours per, 10 hours per pay period to go towards their time that they take care of the dogs. If they work an overtime situation, those hours are counted into their hours worked. Same with the motor officer. Currently, our personnel policy does include the Friday after Thanksgiving as a holiday. We haven't officially changed that for all employees, but our administrative calendar that we put out every year, because we have so many different departments working different days of the week, so we do an administrative calendar. It's honored in there as a personal day, so we didn't formally do it in our personnel policy, but it is done in our administrative calendar. And the last item had to do really just with language changes having to do with updating the uniform allowance and updating the rate that for their vests, that they get paid $850. When they get employed, they get $850 towards a vest, and then every 5 years they get an additional $850 to replace their vest. So those were management's recommendations to the council based on our discussions with the Police Officers Association.
Okay, thank you. Before you ask your question, I was going to ask, were you going to have one of the officers explain to us about the uniform allowance?
If you'd like.
Yeah, if you would.
Officer Pizzi, I think, is prepared to speak about that.
And then Ms. Hatch has some questions also.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Officer Pizzi, Jeff with the Chino Valley Police Department and with the association. Basically, the reason we asked for additional $200 this year was as part of our department's upgrading our policies and procedures. We did this last year. We did a whole new uniform manual. Prior to the uniform manual, we had officers wearing up to 3 different types of brands of uniforms at various costs, some cheaper than others. Sometimes in the uniform world, when you spend a little cheaper, that's kind of what you get out of quality. The uniforms weren't lasting. We had some uniforms, the black uniforms would fade in about 2 months to the color gray. So we put a uniform committee together. I was actually part of that uniform committee. We went out and we looked at various brands that were out there. We chose one brand to represent the entire department, also to make our department look more uniform. Instead of having guys out there with different brands, everybody's wearing the same brand. We have 3 types of uniforms that we wear here in the department, a Class A, a Class B, and a Class C. We are mandated by policy to maintain a Class A, which is the traditional navy blue with the tie clasp, shiny shoes, leather duty belt for funerals, special awards, events. We have a Class B, which is what Lieutenant Sean's wearing back there, which is a step down from the Class A. And then we don't have anybody in here in one. It is our Class C, which is what the majority of the officers wear, which is a cargo-style pant, polo-type shirt, and then usually with the outer carrier vest. The outer carrier vest has become an increasingly popular thing among agencies, especially down in the valley with the heat. It's a safety thing for the officers in the summertime. They can come in, they can take that off in the station, have the air conditioning cool them. Because of their popularity, they've gone up in price. You're looking at approximately $350 for one of those, which is almost half of an officer's uniform allowance on top of having to spend his uniforms. I put some general figures together for you just to give you an idea. If an officer was to start out today, purchase a Class A long sleeve uniform, a Class B long sleeve uniform, which are mandated by policy. And he bought a total of 4 Class C uniforms, summer and winter, 2 for each. Plus something I've had to purchase since I moved up here from the valley is actually a coat. I've never worn a coat in the wintertime. It never got cold enough. Raincoat either, because it really doesn't rain down in Phoenix like it does up here. But to equip their duty belt, any accessories, the approximate figure today would be about $2,284.88 for someone to start out. Obviously, some of that stuff's going to last several years, like their duty belts. And so on an average of having to replace their duty belt every 4 years, in the off years, year 2, year 3, you would see approximate uniform cost to repair uniforms, replace uniforms, which would be the ones they wear, boots, a hat, that kind of stuff. You're looking at about $1,000 a year. Okay. What it doesn't include that we can spend our money on is other things such as our flashlights, flashlight batteries, which aren't replaceable by the department, patrol equipment, clipboards, break a clipboard, duty bags, that kind of stuff. Majority of the agencies in the valley and up here, this is the common amount of number. There's a few obviously that are a little lower. My previous agency is still stuck at $750, which is quite a struggle on those guys to actually keep their uniforms. My point is I want us to look professional. I want our guys to have the money that when a uniform gets a hole in it or it gets tattered and gets faded, they have the money to go out and buy and replace that, and they look as sharp as they are every day that they're out there. And so that's why we were asking for the increase. The basic thing is by this July, everybody has to be wearing the new uniforms. Officer Giese back there was hired June before the policy was finished. So he spent his uniform allowance on uniforms that come July are not authorized for him to wear. So he's going to have to go out and repurchase all new uniforms for him to wear. So that's the reason why we were asking for the little increase, just to kind of help the guys and keep them looking professional and make our department look professional.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilmember Hatch?
Ms. Hatch, your question.
Yeah, page 57 of 73. Item A says, the police department will furnish to each sworn group member entering the police department the following: 2 hardbound ARS Title 4, 13, and 28 manual, updated each year, shall be maintained in the patrol briefing area, and 1 copy shall be kept and made available in the patrol sergeant. On one hand, you're talking about each sworn group member, and then you're limiting it here?
If I may, I think what we are asking for, we're actually trying to save the town some money. The MOU before used to say you'd have to provide each officer with one of those manuals. Okay, you're talking 28 manuals. They're yearly, expensive. They now come out on CDs. We can get them on CDs. They're online on the computer as well. And the computer's in the car, they can access it. So the reason we are actually asking that to save the town money and reduce it to just 2. One in the sergeant's office, one in the patrol office, so you have a hardbound copy. I was raised on the hardbound copy. I hate the computer. So every time I want to look it up, I grab the hardbound copy and look up the
So
statute.
does line A need to be modified, Ms. Molly?
And I believe that's what the wording is. That's the change. It was.
Well, the line below that says that, but the line above says each group member should have it. At the very top, the police to each sworn group member entering the department, and yet below you limit it to the copies that are going to be
Because the way I
maintained
understood
in
it,
the office.
it read before was the police department will furnish to each sworn group member entering the department the following: a hardbound. So it was defining give each one, and we wanted just to change that. They furnish the sworn group member. I guess I see what you're saying where it's saying entering, but we're just trying to change it to just 2, try to save you guys some money.
Yeah, so that first line probably needs to be changed, Ms. Smiley. It's inconsistent with the line below it.
Okay. I believe we could probably put it right up above, or right below number 3 on page 56. That the part that you just read, Ms. Hatch, about the 2 hardbound ARS.
Yeah, so you would
department.
just delete that A that's there, and A would become the 2 hardbound ARS titles. You see the first line on the top of the...
I think
Right.
that the police department will furnish the following:
Yeah,
2 hardbound ARS
just-
Title 4 blah, 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 shall be maintained in the briefing area, and 1 copy shall be kept and made available in the patrol sergeant office. So what needs to come out of there is to each sworn group member entering the department.
Okay.
Because you're not going to furnish it to the group member.
Correct.
It's going to go to, yeah.
Okay.
Good catch, thank you.
Easy. Thank you.
May I ask a second?
Yes, ma'am, one more.
This is with the association. Are all police officers required to be members of the association? And if not, do the non-members get the same benefits and meet the same requirements?
No, they don't have to be a member of the association. There's only, I believe, 2 people in our department not members of the association. Everybody else is a member of the association. And we represent the members of the association, but yes, if they are not a member of the association, they do, I guess you could say, reap the benefits of what we negotiate with the town.
Okay. Thank you. Any more, Ms. Hatch?
I think I'm good. I'm just curious why I don't know anything about motorcycles, but why is a motorcycle officer maintaining his own and are not? Is that kind of like
I
you
was a motor
maintain your
officer
own
for
gun?
several years, and patrol cars, you can drive through a car wash and clean them and vacuum them out at the station. Motorcycle, you can't drive through a car wash. There's maintenance and upkeep on those that the motor officer, when he's at home to keep it clean, has to spend his own time. I didn't get this where I worked. I did it on my own to keep it looking clean. It's one of those things where we want to look professional, and we want our guys to take pride in their stuff versus driving motorcycle that's dirty.
Yeah. All right. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Any over here? Any questions? Yes, sir.
That's just one of the privileges, getting to ride, right?
Yes, it is.
I have a question on
Yes,
the
sir.
vests.
Yes, sir.
You said that there's the allowance.
Yes, sir.
And then every 5 years it comes up again.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to assume that they indeed do purchase a new one?
Yes, they do.
And what happens to the old ones?
That would have to be, we give them to the department, and then we can, basically, after every 5 years, the manufacturer says, we no longer warranty this vest, we're not going to say it's going to work. More often than not, they do, but if we hired someone new, say lateral, and they didn't have a vest, and till theirs was ready, and we had to give them interim vest, they could be used for that, I'm assuming. But we, lieutenant in training.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious on that. That was the first time that had ever come up, that I'd heard of the every 5 years. You know,
Yeah, and
so
that's
that's
just
just
because
the duty
that's-
cycle of it.
And that's just because the manufacturer says,
Right.
we won't warranty.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, the liability on that would be something, so.
Yeah.
All right, any further questions on this side? Any further questions on this side? All right, the chair would entertain a motion, and when you make the motion, if you would, as modified.
Recommend a motion to approve Amendment 3 to Memorandum of Understanding between the Town of Chino Valley, the Chino Valley Police Officers Association, effective July 1, 2015, with the modification on page 57A.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item E, consideration and possible action to determine policy regarding council attorney interaction. This is on page 63 of your packets. And basically what I was hoping to do this evening is not come to a full resolution, but at least get the conversation started. We have enclosed in your packet a note or an article from the League of Cities and Towns on how to use your municipal attorney effectively. And we have, I just wanted to briefly read some numbers here. The town's most recent invoicing from Goodwin Sullivan for the March 2015 services suggests that the town explore ways to assist with management of legal services and fees. Their last invoice totaled $15,898, and that was after they wrote off $3,000 to help us stay within budget. Last month, our invoice total was $14,454. We have budgeted $12,500 per month for legal services, so we've gone over a couple of thousand $3,000 this last month, and the month before we went over about $2,000. And so in order to keep our attorney invoices in line, I would like to just start the discussion on how we can do what most towns call a gatekeeper policy, how they address attorney time. One of the main points in this is that our attorney represents the town. They're not here for individual council members, and so what we have is we need to be sure that our attorney's being used wisely.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Before, you had a list of questions and answers that you got from the attorney from the League of Cities, and in that question was addressed. And the attorney is supposed to answer to all of the council members, and you asked the question about whether all of the council members should have access to them, and the answer was yes. I'd kind of like those questions to be included here so we can reference those as we talk about this. It's a little bit, just saying I'm not sure what you're asking for. Maybe anything over a certain amount that the manager decides to do should come to the council for approval. I mean, small amounts are not a big deal, but those large amounts that maybe, take for instance the cell towers. He went off and he and Ms. Smiley, without approval of the council, did a whole big thing, and then it was voted down. Maybe something of that nature where there's an estimate, it should be required that you come to the council first. But I really would like to have those questions and answers in front of me as we discuss this.
Okay, like I said, we're basically just trying to open the discussion this evening. The point that I was working at was the council's use of the attorney, not the town manager's use. In most towns, the town manager has access to the attorney and instructs their staff in how, if their staff members come to them and want to visit with the attorney, the town manager is the gatekeeper, and in some towns they use the mayor as the gatekeeper for the council. I would not want to task, I believe Dewey Humboldt has tasked the town manager with being the gatekeeper for the council. I'm not real comfortable with that. And our council may not be comfortable with the gatekeeper concept. All I'm saying is we're going several $1,000s over on our legal fees, and I'd like to open the discussion on how we can begin to contain this. Yes, ma'am.
I understand that, but I think that those questions were very helpful that you had asked. I mean, they really changed the tone of this article and made some things very clear.
Okay.
And I personally would like to have that. I think you're right. We need to really watch how we spend that money. And, it's occurred to me many times as I see all of those letters coming to us at every opportunity, attorney-client privilege, that those are all adding up. I think maybe we need to find a way to do that, but I really would like to have those questions and answers that you got to
Excellent.
make some ideas.
Excellent. Well, we will, as I indicated, we're just opening the conversation tonight. Hopefully, we will have more conversation regarding this, and I'll get those questions located, and we'll attach them in the next time we do an agenda item. Is there any further discussion? Yes, sir.
I look at the town manager, he's responsible for his staff, so he's also responsible for any use that his staff does with the attorney, so we need to hold him responsible for that. But I also think in order to control the use of the attorney through the council, in fact, I could probably look at mine, I don't think I have anything in the last 6 months to be an attorney, but we need somebody, a gatekeeper, that's my feeling, to say, hey, we're getting close to our budget, or we're halfway through the month, let's slow down. And to me, that person can only be one person, and that's the town manager. That's my feelings.
Mr. Mayor, maybe
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can, I don't know if we're allowed to do this in executive, maybe it's considering a contract or something, but can we look at those bills and see what they're being billed for, so we can analyze them?
You bet.
And get a feeling, before we talk about cutting, maybe we ought to know where the money is going.
Okay. Excellent.
Mayor.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
The council can have access to the bills.
Okay.
That's not a problem. And on our billing, we have, at the request of the town manager, divided out certain topics. We have divided out ordinances, contracts, personnel, a bunch of common topics that we address. We talked about today with the number of public records requests that the town is getting right now. We're going to divide that out too. But in our billings, every item that we bill for says what the topic is. So if you all want to look at that, that would be a good way to start. I mean, it might help you in your discussion to see what kinds of things we're working on and where you think that maybe staff could handle some topic or preliminary work before the attorney gets involved. And I kind of am a little disturbed by the implication that the town attorney and the town manager did something wrong in negotiating or attempting to negotiate and put together a deal for the council that for the council's approval. This is not an uncommon thing. This is not something that we were. The implication was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
I felt that the implication was a little bit that we were doing something underhanded, and it was not. It was totally above board.
Thank
you. You know, as far as that goes. But you would be able to see those billings under the topic -4, which is contracts. So contract negotiations would be there.
Great, thank you. And thank you for clearing that up. Yes,
And
ma'am.
there was no implication of it being underhanded. It's just that something like that, I mean, it just came out of the blue, and that maybe that would be something that we should have discussed as a council. And then just to make sure that there was no question, you know, from the public or anyone else, that we said, you know, go ahead and work on it.
Oh, okay.
Contracts are something that we can do, can we not, an executive or propose contracts or something like that? And so we wouldn't be violating any confidences, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page, it might be a good idea in the future to do something like that.
Okay. Yeah, a little wider definition insofar as discussing our attorney billing. We may want to address how staff deals with it and how council deals with it and split it into those two. Like I said, I just wanted to, number one, raise council's awareness to the fact that we are running over budget on our attorney billing, and number two, that our attorneys have been kind enough to give us a break on this, and hopefully we can continue the discussion. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we table this to, yes, sir.
I'd just like to make a comment on that. You know, I think that as council, before we go making a request, whether it be to the town manager or to the attorney of anything that would involve attorney fees, that we ask ourselves, if we were paying for this out of our own pocket, would we make the request?
Mm-hmm.
And if we do that, it regulates itself.
It's a good criteria. Thank you. Thank you. All right, if there's no other discussion, I'm going to go ahead and move that we postpone this to a later meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Postponed to a later meeting.
With all the data that we need to make a decision.
You bet.
Provided for us.
Okay. Next item is consideration and possible action to waive attorney-client privilege on a letter from Town Attorney Phyllis Smiley dated March 12th, 2015, entitled Communications Requesting Town Funding for Attorney for Councilmember Hatch.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
There should be full and fair disclosure to the public. If you're going to release this attorney-client privilege document, then the following items should also be released along with Ms. Smiley's letter, in order to give a fair and complete picture of what's going on. The request of Linda Hatch for attorney fees in this matter originally submitted to the town manager. The email sent to all council members by the town manager improperly describing the request as a personal request. The email from Linda Hatch to the town manager complaining about the mischaracterization of this request. All privileged attorney-client documents and responses which Ms. Smiley has drafted regarding any aspect of the charges, including those concerning any aspect of the magistrate court. Ms. Smiley's fees for each of these items, and I make that motion.
Second.
Okay.
That motion would need to be made at a future meeting because the only item on the agenda is that one.
These are related, Ms. Smiley. They're part
Well,
of
they
it.
may be related, Councilwoman Hatch, but the open meeting law has this specific item on it, so
And these are part
perhaps
of that
the-
item.
Well, but perhaps the action item you would want to bring back at a future meeting would be as to all those related documents as well.
Then I amend my motion to table this until all of the related documents can be brought forward at the same time as this one document. Otherwise, it does not give the public a fair view of what is going on.
Okay, so we have a motion to table this item until further documentation. can be
Until
added.
all of those other items can be provided with it.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Oh, wait a
Discussion?
second.
Can we discuss even after the motion or no?
Oh,
Yes.
I believe we
Okay.
can.
I would just.
Did we have
need
a
a
second?
second.
You need a second before you can discuss.
I did second.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Yes, sir,
Okay.
Mr. Turner.
Ms. Smiley?
Yes, sir.
I don't understand all of the requests that Ms. Hatch just made, so I'm wanting some opinion from you. Is this what she's asking for? Is this, do you feel in your mind that this is in the best interest of the council to table this until we can bring all this forward to vote on this?
I think that's a determination that the council has to make.
Okay.
I'm not certain that I got all of the documents that Councilwoman Hatch wanted to include. Yeah, that's not a decision for me to make.
Right, thank you.
It's your privilege, you get to waive it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor to table until further documentation. Hang on for a second.
I think the next meeting would be fine if we can have, those documents should be readily available. You don't need to make it a long time away.
Okay, let me get this finished here. Yes, ma'am, you had something?
I would think that it would be very important to have all the documentation because it gives a broader scope of the entire picture.
Okay. Could you read that list off again, Ms. Hatch?
Sure. The request of Linda Hatch for the attorney fees in this matter, the original request that went to the town manager. The email sent to all council members by the town manager describing the request as a personal request. The email from Linda Hatch to the town manager complaining about the mischaracterization of the request. All privileged attorney-client documents and responses which Ms. Smiley has drafted regarding any aspect of the charges included in this document, and Ms. Smiley's fees for each of those items.
So the motion before us is to table this request, item F, until this further documentation is provided. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. May we have a roll call vote? And the vote is to whether to table until further documentation. The motion is to table until further documentation can be provided. May we have the roll call vote?
Councilmember McKee?
Yes, table.
Councilmember Turner?
No.
Councilmember Wojcik?
Yes.
Councilmember Hatch?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
No.
Vice Mayor Croft?
Nope.
Mayor Marley?
No. Motion to table until further documentation can be provided fails. If there's no further discussion regarding the motion before us, consideration and possible action to waive attorney-client privilege on a letter from Town Attorney Phyllis Smiley dated March 12, 2015, entitled Communications Requesting Town Funding for Attorney for Councilmember Hatch. That's the motion before us.
Second.
Okay, or excuse me, can you
I'll
go
make
ahead
the
and make
motion.
that motion?
Motion to waive attorney-client privilege on a letter from Town Attorney Phyllis Smiley dated March 12, 2015, entitled Communications Requesting Town Funding for Attorney for Councilmember Hatch.
Second. May we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember McKee?
No.
Councilmember Turner?
Yay.
Councilmember Wojcik?
No.
Councilmember Hatch?
No.
Councilmember Best?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Croft?
Yes.
Mayor Marley?
Yay. Motion carries.
Passes.
And who hasn't had a motion to adjourn for some time?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
We have a motion and a
Aye.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Meeting's adjourned.